There aren't a lot of things in America, frankly, that I think just about everybody can agree on. Everybody's got their own philosophies, their own opinions, their own ideologies, belief systems, associations, whatever the case might be. But I think the one thing that almost everybody across the entire spectrum of people in this country can agree on is that our current healthcare system is flawed, broken, and flat out sucks. Insurance premiums are too high for both patients and for the employers primarily that are having to help cover the cost of these insurance premiums. Out-of-pocket costs, deductibles are too high. Overall, health care and health insurance costs continue to skyrocket at astronomical levels, and all the while, the quality of health care is not increasing in a correlating fashion. It is stagnant, if not actually decreasing. So you're putting out more and more money to get less and less. Does that make any sense? No, and that's why so many people in this country, this is one of the few issues that almost everybody can agree on in terms of the fundamental problem. Everybody agrees that the current American healthcare system completely fucking sucks, and that something needs to be done, and something needs to be changed, and needs to be changed immediately, because it's almost criminal what's been allowed to occur in our healthcare system. Now, Barack Obama, during his presidential campaign in 2008, ran on a platform of yes, we can, and all this other crap. But one of his major talking points was coming in and reforming the healthcare system, overhauling and changing the healthcare system. That was one of the major principles that he ran on. And that's one of the reason I think a lot of people that might have had some uncertainty about voting for a black guy with a Kenyan father with a Muslim-sounding name, they voted for him, got behind him in 2008 because they felt like he was appealing to them. They felt like he understood, and they felt like he was actually going to do something to fix our broken American healthcare system. But sadly, instead of doing that, President Barack Obama pushed through Obamacare, which is so many things. It is stupid. It is pointless. It is basically a form of a tax increase. Furthermore, it didn't do anything primarily to solve the problems of our broken healthcare system in this country. If anything, it added more bureaucracy and more infrastructure to continue to perpetuate, if not increase and grow, these problems in our current American healthcare system. Obamacare is stupid. But the one thing it's not is socialist. I get so sick and tired in stupid America when I hear so many different people actually spew out this garbage. So many people that actually, to me, clearly do not understand what socialism is, what type of system it is, or how it works, or what is actually classified as socialist or socialism, actually sits there and tries to assign that label to President Obama, and in particular, Obamacare. If you sit there and actually tried and true believe that Obamacare is socialism in any way, shape, or form, then you truly are a part of stupid America, and you are an idiot of the highest order, and I suggest you stop taking your talking points from Fox News, Rush Limbaugh, and the fucking far right. You'd be better off if you did, if you started thinking for yourself instead of believing this bullshit. Because here's what I can tell you. Socialism, in the context of healthcare and a healthcare system, would incorporate these type of elements. You would see mostly, if not a complete elimination of private health insurance. Did Obamacare do any of that? No, it didn't, did it? It didn't eliminate private health insurance. In fact, it was basically a giveaway to private insurance, throwing millions of more names into the freaking pot. Did it create a single-payer system where there is no private insurance and the healthcare system is funded and the healthcare is provided by the government solely, where it's funded based off of taxpayer dollars, either from the entire taxpayer pool or a portion of the taxpayer pool? No, it didn't. Part of socialism is that you have government-run businesses, if you will. Well, Obamacare is not really a government-run business. You still have private insurance. That's the bottom line. You still have private insurance, and it didn't create a single-payer healthcare system where people pay their tax money into it, and then the healthcare provides the government, provides the infrastructure for the healthcare system and takes care of the healthcare. That way, you have little, or in a lot of cases, no actual out-of-pocket cost. Did it create a public option where the government actually set up their own insurance to compete in the marketplace against private insurance? No, it didn't. Did it create true universal health care, which means not technically the ability to get health care for all? Universal health care means that everybody has basic fundamental health care coverage and the right to health care being provided by them. Obamacare did none of that. These are all tenets of what a socialist healthcare system would look like. And the United States Obamacare plan did none of that. And yet people still freaking believe that it's socialism, even though there is very little to no evidence to actually support that this is indeed true. Like I said, I think Obamacare is stupid. I think it's pointless. I think it did nothing to actually solve and address the problems, and in fact added to them and created more problems and took us further away from actually coming up with real solutions to fixing our healthcare system in this country and putting the priorities where they need to be, which is on the quality of care, the basic fundamental human right, in my opinion, for everybody to have the ability to get quality health care. I don't think that should be a privilege. I think that should be a fucking right. And I believe it is a fundamental right. Here's an interesting quote that I want to throw out at you. This ties into this whole labeling of Obamacare, and in particular Barack Obama, as a socialist. Make the lie big. Make it simple. Keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. And that's definitely the case here. And this definitely holds true here. You want to know who's really upset with President Obama more than anybody else? You want to know who really hates Obamacare, maybe more so than anybody else? It's actual socialists, because they were actually expecting the elimination of private health insurance. They were actually expecting, at the very worst, at least a public option, if not the full-on creation of a single-payer healthcare system, which would actually provide true universal health care for all. And Obamacare did none of that. So if socialists are pissed off that Obamacare didn't do any of it, how in the fuck is Obamacare socialist? It's because of the Fox Newses and the Rush Limbaughs and the Sean Hannitys and the Bill O'Reillys and the far-right conservative propaganda that has been trotted out there that has been misleading people and misrepresenting what socialism actually is. And like I said, you make the lie big, you make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. Calling President Obama and Obamacare socialism is a big lie. But you also make it simple, where it doesn't require the people that are prone to believe this type of bullshit propaganda. They'll understand it. It makes it simple. You repeat the talking point over and over and over again, and eventually they do believe it. I can't believe how many people I hear tell me Obamacare is socialist and that President Obama is socialist, and I laugh in their face, and then I proceed to clown them, and it looks like I hurt their feelings because I make them feel stupid after I talk about it. Oh, and by the way, that quote, make the lie big, make it simple, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. What great philosopher said that? Adolf Hitler, a fascist. Interesting. I think it definitely applies to the narrative and the conversation, especially from the political right in this country, pertaining to the healthcare system, and in particular Obamacare. Now, I'm on board with the fact that Obamacare sucks. I think it's stupid, I think it's pointless, and I think it didn't fix the problems. But to call it socialism is simply a lie. A flat-out lie that cannot be refuted unless you are a complete moron that actually believes those far-right talking points. You want to know what Obamacare is, really? In a lot of ways, it's crony capitalism, bordering, dare I say, on fascism. What did it do? It didn't rein in private insurance. It didn't sit there and get rid of it. It didn't sit there and do a lot except help to expand the reach and scope and overall profits of private insurance. It created open insurance marketplaces where these different companies could break through the monopolies that other companies had in certain areas, and it created competition. This is like free market capitalism. This is like, in a way, controlled free market capitalism. This is like crony capitalism. It didn't ensure universal coverage for everyone, because you could sit there and say, well, it has an individual mandate. Well, you could also not technically get covered and as a result pay a fine. So it didn't provide universal coverage for all. It didn't eliminate the health insurance, the private health insurance. It didn't create a single payer system. In fact, it caused many premiums to go up and will probably eventually cause overall healthcare costs to go up. How is that socialist? Like I said, that's crony capitalism, bordering on fascism. And what do I mean by fascism? What I'm talking about is a sense that your corporations and your big businesses are in lockstep with government and running the show. So when people sit there and say that Barack Obama is a socialist, I laugh in their fucking face. At the very least, he is a corporatist. At the very worst, he's flat out a fascist, like so many of your politicians in this country. Oh, and by the way, fascism is a far-right principle. So for all those idiots that are sitting there talking about socialism, 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 what they're doing is trying to deflect, defocus, and attention away from what they believe in, which is being friendly to big business and big corporations and big banks and being fascist, letting business run the government and being in lockstep with the government to set policy that is favorable to them. That's fascism. It is. And that's what the far right believes in, just like the far left in a lot of cases believes in socialism. And what I find so astounding about Obamacare and the fact that it's now been labeled by the far right and elements of the right as socialism is that this was your idea, assholes. Where is the where is the sense here? You're far right. If anything, you're fascist. These principles that Barack Obama pushed through with Obamacare were Republican conservative principles. Going back to the 90s, back in the early 90s, when President Clinton was actually trying to get true socialized medicine and true universal health care pushed through, the counteraction to that, other than blocking that, because that would have been bad for the big insurance companies and bad for big business, and we couldn't have that in fascist America, you got the proposal that became, frankly, Obamacare. This was originally thought of by the Heritage Foundation. And I don't think anybody will ever can accuse the Heritage Foundation of being a freaking socialist organization. Fascist, yes, I'll accuse them of that. But socialist, no. This was an idea, a piece of legislation that was proposed by Bob Dole in 1996 during the time where he was running against Bill Clinton for the presidency. This type of healthcare reform was a Republican principle, a Republican idea going back to the 90s. This was their baby. This was their bitch. They wanted to provide access for all, meaning they wanted to get more people paying into the system so that way the insurance companies could pay more, and all the while promoting more personal responsibility and putting less of the burden overall on the taxpayers, less of a so-called welfare state when it came to the healthcare system. This is a fucking Republican principle! Oh, and by the way, what was Obamacare really fashioned off of? Romneycare, who was pushed through by who in Massachusetts? The former Republican Governor Mitt Romney, who Obama faced off with in 2012. So here's Romney instituting this Republican idea in principle at a state level, and now all of a sudden, since the black guy with the Muslim-sounding name proposes it, it becomes fucking socialism? How does that make any fucking sense? Again, socialist medicine would include a large elimination, if not total elimination, of private health insurance. It would create a single-payer system, or at the very worst, a public option. It would also actually provide true universal health care for all. And Obamacare did none of those things. So almost 20 years ago, the principles and tenets that comprise what eventually would become Romneycare, or Obamacare, before that Romneycare, but ended up being Obamacare, these were great conservative principles. And now, because Obama pushed it through, it's like the Republicans are mad that he took their idea and got it through on the national level, and now it's socialist. Obamacare is stupid. Obamacare is pointless. Obamacare is a lot of things. The one thing it is not is socialist. The only winners in all of this are big businesses, and in particular the big insurance companies. And until we tackle that problem, until we tackle the evil that is the big insurance industry in this country, our healthcare system will continue to be flawed and continue to be broken, and we will have a fascist healthcare system, not socialist. We have, ladies and gentlemen, a fascist healthcare system.